Welcome into Game Day View presented by Mercedes-Benz. I am Andrew Hawkins, joined as always by Greg Rosenthal and Cynthia Freeland. We are here getting you set for your Week 5 slate of games, but we start with a little news. This statement coming directly from the NFL League office. The Broncos and Patriots game has been postponed. That's right. Denver and New England will scheduled for Monday, October 12th at 5 p.m. Eastern has been postponed. Details on a new game date and time will be announced shortly. Both teams now have a Week 5 bye. This decision was made to ensure the health and safety of players, coaches, and game day personnel, and in consultation with medical experts.
Yeah, so that postponement came about after a positive test on Sunday. The same thing happened with the Titans. Tom Pelissero now reporting the Titans announced their facility was shut down on Sunday after reopening on Saturday after a staff member tested positive for COVID-19. The Titans and Bills are currently scheduled to play on Tuesday, but as we've seen, we can expect to have some sort of update on that, whether that game is happening or not in the coming days. This is all new, Hawk. This is all new.
It's all new, up to the minute. All right, let's get started with today's games. We're going to start with the Eagles at the Steelers. The Steelers are favored by 7 here. Let's get right to picks. I'll kick things off. I'm going with the Steelers. They've had a week off. They're rejuvenated. They're re-energized. They're chomping at the bit to get after it. But more importantly, the Eagles have been struggling offensively. And although Carson Wentz played well or better last week, he still has a ways to go. So I'm watching to see if his trajectory still goes in that direction of getting better than he's been this season, which is leading the league in interceptions. What do you got, Cynthia?
I'm looking at the Steelers' defensive front, 41% pressure percentage. That's number 1 in the NFL per Next Gen Stats. That's going to be a big problem considering Carson Wentz has been really turnover prone. And yes, those 4 linemen being out, he's been actually pretty good, all things considered, at not necessarily allowing a ton of pressures relative to the situation he's in. But this is not a good situation. The Steelers are on a crazy 1+ sack streak in like 60 games. And by the way, the home team in this one has won 4 of the past 4. I like the 27-19. It's one of my strongest picks for the entire week.
Yeah, I like it. I like seeing that Freeland's finest graphic because I feel good about my 10-point victory for the Steelers, too. Look, Cynthia mentioned the Steelers might have the best pass rush in the league. If the Eagles are going to compete in this game, their defensive line has to dominate. They can be just as good up front as Pittsburgh is with Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox, and Javon Hargrave is now healthy. So if they're going to win, it's going to be because of their defense, because I do not trust the Eagles' offense right now. Although I do trust, look at Carson Wentz, staying safe on the way into the stadium. Cynthia, what do we got for some proper performances early in this show?
We've got 2 proper performances already. The first is that Ben Roethlisberger will throw for fewer than 271 yards. It's a combination of what you just said, the pressure, namely keeping Ben Roethlisberger away from that pressure, and the fact that you're going to be able to see, yes, the Eagles have allowed a little bit more in the run game than we're potentially used to with them, but you're going to see James Conner come on strong in this one. Now, looking at the running back on the other side of the ball, that's Miles Sanders. He's going to rush for fewer than 69 yards. The Steelers haven't allowed 90-plus rushing yards to a single running back since 2018. There's no reason that that's going to change today, given the circumstances, namely that I project that, and Greg projects, and Hawk projects, that the Steelers are going to be playing with a lead, meaning that the Miles Sanders running game, they're going to have to keep throwing the ball. Carson Wentz throwing later in the game.
All right. Next up, we got the Panthers and the Falcons. Falcons favored by a couple points in this game at home, but I got the Panthers winning 27-24. I'm loving what I'm seeing out of this team, especially the coaching, the defense. So many young players have really improved over the last 2 weeks. And then Teddy Two Gloves, Teddy Bridgewater, on pace for about 4,500 yards. Robbie Anderson's on pace for 500 yards. Matt Rule comes in, and he shows Dan Quinn, hey, look what good coaching can do. It can change your organization right away. I'm not saying Dan Quinn didn't have his moments, but if the Panthers go in there and beat them right now, the Falcons are getting about 3 or 4 defensive players back in this game. That would not bode well for Dan Quinn. What about you, Cynthia?
I'm totally with you. I have 28-26 projected in this one. One thing to note, Teddy Bridgewater has been an underdog in 22 contests, and he has outright won 11 of them. That is a monstrous number. It bodes really well for him. It also bodes well for Robbie Anderson in this game, and it's going to be really interesting to see, can that streak where Robbie Anderson is like this wide receiver one for fantasy purposes, does that continue? You mentioned the Falcons getting some defensive pieces back, but I don't think it's going to be enough. And I think really Matt Rule plus Joe Brady equals, Joe Brady probably be a head coach somewhere next season. Hawk, what do you have?
I love that. I'm going Panthers as well. To your guys' point, the Panthers are playing great football. I mean, they're trajecting in the right way. I mean, you look at Matt Rule and how this team is rallying around the new culture he's building there. And then you look on the other side, it's the complete opposite for the Falcons. They're trying to figure out which way is up, and even the talent that they have, we're not getting the most out of them. So I have the Panthers winning as well. Unfortunately, the Falcons falling to 0-5. Okay, next up, we got the Raiders at the Chiefs. The Chiefs are favored in this one by 11.5. I'll start the picks. I'll go with the Chiefs because I'm not crazy, okay? The Chiefs had a hard-fought win a week ago. The offense struggled a little bit, so I see them getting back on the wagon this week against the Raiders. The Raiders fight early, but ultimately they fall. I'm going to give a score here because this is a big favorite. So I'm going to go 31 Chiefs to 20 for the Raiders in this one. Cynthia, what do you got?
Wow, we're getting scores from Hawk. Is it like Christmas? What's going on?
Scores.
I love it. I have 34-21 in this game. It's a little bit less than the average we've seen Patrick Mahomes be able to put up against the Raiders, which is 35.8 points per game, so almost 36 points per game. However, that score margin is usually 22 points. The interesting part in this one is the Raiders actually play at kind of a slower pace than you might imagine, and that's caused a decrease in points every single week for them. So I wouldn't be surprised if this game had a more snail pace when it comes to the Raiders' ability to put up points on this one. So for me, that's an interesting note in this one. Will the Raiders be able to keep up? Greg, what do you have?
I have a very similar score, 35-20. I mean, in this world where we don't know what's happening, we can trust that Patrick Mahomes is going to light up John Gruden. I love, how important the mask wearing is for all the coaches, everyone on the sidelines. But if there's one coach I wish I could see his facial expressions, it's John Gruden right now, while his defense is missing tackles and they're giving up points and Patrick Mahomes is going after him week after week. Cynthia, we got some more proper performances, don't we?
We do. The first one. Now, this isn't a negative thing to say that Patrick Mahomes won't pass for more than 306 yards. It's just a note. He only averages 283.5 when he plays the Raiders. Yes, they are lights out. He is just absolutely crushing the statistics. You name it, he's pretty much crushing every single statistic in it. But I told you, pace is going to matter in this one. Slowing things down a bit is going to matter in this one. And remember, all four, this is a preview for later because we got to do more or less later, but all four of the Chiefs games so far have been under 54 points, 54 or under points. So just make sure you keep that in mind. And then the second one, Darren Waller on the other side of this matchup. This is a positive one in terms of that he's going to have more than 63 receiving yards. When it comes to what has Derek Carr been doing, he's been throwing those under 10-yard air attempts passes, and they've been going to Darren Waller. This is a situation where you've seen the Chiefs give up yards, the bend don't break, blah, 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 blah. But that is where Darren Waller is going to be really, really helpful to them, and the volume he's getting is right up there with Travis Kelce. So for me, 63 receiving yards for Darren Waller, that's going to happen.
Ooh, so specific. I love it. Good division matchup there. Another one in the AFC South. Two struggling teams right now. Jaguars face the Texans. The Texans haven't got a win, but they're favored by 5 points in this game. Talk about disrespect for the Jaguars. You're like a big-time underdog against a winless team. I have the Texans winning this game, getting off the schneid, but only by 3 points. I do think the Jaguars' offense is the best unit in this game, but the worst unit is the Jaguars' defense. Every quarterback that the Jaguars have faced have had their best game of the year against those Jaguars. And Deshaun Watson has played really well in spurts over the last 2 weeks. I think with this matchup, and he's going to get good pass protection this week, he's going to play great for the whole game. They win 30-27, Cynthia.
I love the margin. I have 27-24 in this matchup. I'm totally with you on Deshaun Watson. I have more than 266 yards projected for him through the air. And I agree with you. The closeness, by the way, I took a look at it. The last 36 times a head coach was fired in the middle of the season, only 13 times has that team then won out. Remember, teams who are firing their coaches, they're not necessarily maybe the best team in the league. So I think that win, but not a crazy like touchdown win. I think a field goal is far more appropriate in this one. Hawk?
Well, my question would be, how many of those 36 teams had the second highest paid player in the NFL, which the Texans have? So I am going with the Texans to be team number 14 to get a win because I think this team is rejuvenated, specifically Deshaun Watson. He's going to be excited that the reins are taken off of him. The pressure's off a little bit. You're going to see a high performance from Deshaun in this one, and the Texans get the W. Okay, next up we have the Bengals at the Ravens, a matchup. I played in 6 of these games. Humble brag, just going to put that out there. The Ravens are favored in this one by 12
How many
points.
did you win?
I am going with the Ravens. Doesn't matter. We're talking other scores and wins right now, Greg, okay? The Ravens are favored by 12 in this one. I'll give you a score. I'm going to go 27-17 for the Ravens. I think Joe Burrow actually will play a good game. This will be a real big test for him going against this Ravens defense, a test that I think everyone's going to feel good about because it'll solidify what we already think about Joe Burrow, which this kid is the real deal, and he's going to be a big player in this league. What do you got, Cynthia?
Totally agree with you about Joe Burrow. Totally agree with you on this point Christmas that we're having early. I love it. I have 33-19, which is 14 points difference, so 4 more points than what you had. 2 things that I think are really interesting in this one. The first is that the Bengals have scored 23 points in 3 of 4 contests, so that's interesting to me. They'll potentially keep it closer than you might imagine when it comes to Bengals and Ravens in this case, which means Lamar Jackson, who did appear on the injury report and he has some leg issues and an illness, but he's obviously going to play. That means he's going to have to stay passing for longer. So I have more than 211 yards, an extra proper performance for you right there. More than 211 passing yards. What do you think, Greg?
Just free info from Cynthia. That's good stuff. I don't disagree on the winner, but I do think it'll be closer. So this is one of Freeland's finest picks, but I feel really good that the Bengals can keep this game closer than she indicated. I have a 9-point win for Baltimore. Wouldn't surprise me if it's a 1-score game. You know, I do the Around the NFL podcast. Check it out, the recap show Sunday night. I assigned myself this game because I think it's going to be competitive, and I love watching Lamar. And so this is the game I'm watching at 10 a.m. because I'm just interested to see if we could see a frisky Joe Burrow and Bengals team keep this game close. Cynthia, I know you got some more proper performances for us.
We're just full of proper performances in this one. The first is that Joe Burrow will throw for fewer than 266 yards. That is not a knock on Joe Burrow. This is in plus for the Ravens defense. Also, Joe Mixon's been coming on as of late and getting that run game going such that the pass game can really flow off the play action. That is the strategy in this one, to stay away from Calais Campbell and that Ravens defensive front. So Joe Burrow, it's not a lot less than 266. It's like 250. So don't worry about it. You're all good. Next, Marquise Brown, that's Hollywood, will have more than 69 receiving yards. I already told you that I liked Lamar Jackson to have at least 211 passing yards. Well, at least 70 of those are going to go to Hollywood. This is a great matchup for them to leverage and really work on kind of the passing game, which we haven't seen a lot of passes from Lamar Jackson to wide receivers. So this is one where those wide receiver passes get that chemistry going. That's what the projections say.
All right, next up we got the Rams facing the Washington football team. Hey, it's Kyle Allen's debut, everyone. Get excited. Washington is the underdog in this game by 7 points. It might be raining there. And I don't think that's good for Kyle Allen, who fumbled the ball a lot. I saw him play live in London. A lot of turnovers for this kid last year. And the Rams have the running game right now, I think, to succeed in the rain. So I got the Rams winning 27-16. Ultimately, they have the safe, comfortable win that they didn't really have a week ago against the Giants. What about you, Cynthia?
I love that our scores are so close. I have 26-17, so pretty close right there. A nice win for the Rams. Hey, the thing that is interesting in this one for me is the good parts about Kyle Allen, and that is that he actually connected for 10 touchdowns on passes outside the numbers last season in Carolina. He did have those fumbles, but that is kind of an indicator to me that they could add some complexity to this offense and not just see those quick passes, because Dwayne Haskins actually had the quickest time to throw. He was also throwing with a lot of velocity, so it was harder for his receivers to catch it. So ultimately in this one, there's going to be an opportunity for Terry McLaurin to get his second touchdown of the season. And by the way, that would be just the 5th receiving touchdown for the Washington football team this season. Hawk?
Yeah, I'm going with the Rams as well. I just don't think the Washington football team has the firepower to contend. I do trust Coach Rivera's decision to go with Kyle Allen, but again, I just don't think they have enough in the tank to contend with the Rams team. To your point, Greg, that has a better run game and will eat the clock up, especially in the rain. All right, next up we have the Cardinals at the Jets. The Cardinals are favored by 7 in this one on the road, and I am going with the Cardinals. I'm looking specifically for a big game out of DeAndre Hopkins. He's played 2 career games against the Jets, 15 catches, 288 yards in 2 games. That's more than I've had in multiple seasons in my NFL career. I'm not ashamed to say it. So I expect a big game out of DeAndre Hopkins, and Greg Williams have a tough time trying to slow down this Cardinals offense. What do you got, Cynthia?
I legitimately thought you were projecting his output for this game, because I have a monster game projected for DeAndre Hopkins as well. But I don't think it might. I think maybe that's like a little too aggressive of a number, but it could be pretty close because of that Jets leaky secondary. I have 27-21. I do have the Jets. Lev Bell was activated off IR. So that could be a real big help, because remember, it is Joe Flacco season for the Jets starting right now. This game's going to be interesting because Joe Flacco doesn't turn the ball over very often, which was something we saw Sam Darnold do. So it's going to be interesting to see, can this O-line keep Joe Flacco upright? If so, then the Jets have a chance. I keep it a little bit closer for me. I have 27-21.
I got the exact same score. I love it when Cynthia's computer model and then my model, which is all just right up here, it just spits out the same score. This is sort of a lose-lose for the Jets. Like, you don't want Joe Flacco to do that well without Mekhi Becton's not even in at left tackle. If Joe Flacco comes out there and balls better than Sam Darnold's been doing all year, then you start wondering about this team. But I don't trust the Cardinals to win in a blowout right now over anyone, not even the Jets. Let's take a little break. But before we do that, we're just going to look at some nice little Chiefs arrivals. So, ooh, look at that. Look at that jacket.
Swag
I mean,
daddy.
his shirt says brother, right? In French. Frère.
I mean, this man, he's just, who can compete with this man?
That's
Back on Game Day View, it's time for Drive to Excellence, presented by Mercedes-Benz. We've got a tie at the top this week as both Cynthia and Hawk have 42 wins through 4 weeks. Just checking here, Greg is picking American football games, right? That was Drive to Excellence, presented by Mercedes-Benz.
All right, time for some quick picks. Let's start with the Colts at the Browns. This is a pick 'em, no favorite here. I am going with the Browns, who actually are my favorite. I think this is the real test for this Colts defense, who has played well all year, but who have they really played against? I think the Browns offense is dynamic, a lot of weapons. That running game is going. A real big test for the Colts that they will fail. I got the Browns winning. How about you, Cynthia?
I have a 2-point win for the Browns, 25-23. Left tackle Anthony Costanzo went to Boston College. He is not playing in this matchup, meaning Myles Garrett on that defensive front, and that pressure is going to have a nice opportunity to make that O-line look not as strong as they actually are. Phillip Rivers under more pressure. That means Browns take the win by 2. What about you, Greg?
I have a 2-point win, too. We agree too much this week, 26-24. Darius Leonard, the great linebacker for the Colts, is also out for this game. So that's 2 with Costanzo of the Colts, probably 5 best players. And so that gives the Browns a little bit extra of an edge. I like them, too. Next up, we got the Giants and the Cowboys. Cowboys big-time favorites in this game. I have the Giants keeping it close, 31-24. It is an 8.5-point favorite. That's what Dallas is. But I think right now, if there's a defense that Danny Dimes can get it going and moving the ball against, I think it's this Cowboys defense. Dallas also missing Tyron Smith and Lyle Collins now at tackle for the rest of the year. So I think the Giants can actually make Cowboys fans sweat, because nothing would be worse than them going 1-4 against a winless Giants team. What about you, Cynthia?
I have a much bigger win for the Cowboys, 32-21. We're going to see if Mike McCarthy is actually an analytics person or not. Why? They played 85% of their snaps from behind. They need to get Ezekiel Elliott going, especially, like you mentioned, with their O-line being so depleted. Now, if they're going to be able to get the win and get that nice, solid win, they're going to have to get the run game going, meaning Ezekiel Elliott's going to have at least 75 rushing yards in this one, and that's going to be the key because, like you mentioned, the Giants offense, they actually play at the 9th fastest pace in the NFL, meaning if the Cowboys don't keep their offense on the field, their leaky defense is going to be a problem.
Yeah, I'm going with the Cowboys as well. I think this Cowboys offense is really talented, and if the defense would have stepped up a week ago, they had a really good chance of actually winning that game against the Browns. This week, they're going against the Giants. If their offense continues to roll, I don't think the Giants have that kind of firepower on offense that the Browns have. So for that reason, I have the Cowboys winning. Next up, we have the Dolphins at the 49ers. The 49ers are favored by 7.5 points in this one. Going with the 49ers, I think this will be a big bounce-back game for them, specifically with Jimmy Garoppolo back in the lineup. They'll get that continuity back to what they're used to, and I think things will really click for this team and a big bounce-back. How about you, Cynthia?
I have a 10-point win for the Niners, 27-17 in this one. Raheem Mostert is supposed to be back. You've got a lot of the pieces back. George Kittle had a monster game last week. Jimmy Garoppolo probably going to be able to connect with him for at least what he had last game, so that's going to be a big factor in this one. I do like some people on the Dolphins a little bit better for fantasy purposes. Like, you could totally play Devontae Parker. He has had more yards in every single consecutive game, so it's not a total wash for fantasy. Just be mindful of who you're playing from the Dolphins. Greg?
I have the 49ers winning by 7, 27-20. The cavalry has arrived on offense. That's very exciting for San Francisco. They're still really thin on defense. I mean, they're not getting some of those defensive linemen back, and then in the secondary, they're really banged up. So Miami, I don't know what to think about this team on a week-to-week basis, but they're always competitive. They keep it close, so I just have a 1-touchdown win for San Francisco. The 49ers need this win because the Seahawks are undefeated. They're playing on Sunday Night Football. They're playing against the Vikings, favored by a touchdown in this game. I have Seattle winning 35-31. I think it's going to be really fun on Sunday Night Football because Kid Cuzzy is going deep. I mean, he's throwing it deep at a higher percentage than any quarterback in the league. That includes Russell Wilson. Look at this. No one ever talks about Kirk Cousins' arm, but he's got a nice arm, and they got a nice scheme right now because of the running game I know has caught your eye, Cynthia, and that opens up that vertical passing game.
Absolutely. I, too, have a closer than expected game in this one. I have 30-24 in favor of the Seahawks. Russell Wilson just doing everything himself. By the way, I try to count, like, what is a WAR, like in baseball, wins above replacement. I try to do that for football players, and no player has a higher win share, that's what I call my WAR, than Russell Wilson's 1.1. But I also want to point out that if you're looking for a good fantasy play, both Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson, they're going to be great because the Seattle defense, especially against slot receivers and especially against play action to slot receivers, that has been an area of really big susceptibility. So that's going to be an area where your guy Kirk Cousins is going to exploit it. What do you have in this one, Hawk?
You know what? I love Thielen. I love Jefferson. They're playing top-notch ball. But anytime the Seahawks are playing, the only thing I'm thinking about is how does Russell make a bigger case for MVP in this game? And this time it's against a Zimmer defense, which, they want to take away what he likes to do, take away those top players, because that's what Zimmer does. He wants to eliminate your number one target. It doesn't matter with Russell. It doesn't matter what you eliminate. He finds the open guy. He makes the right decision. He makes the throws, and he takes what you're giving him. So I still expect a big game out of him, and the Russell Wilson MVP tour continues. Next up, we got the Chargers at the Saints. The Saints are favored by 8 in this one. We got the young rook against a wily vet in Drew Brees. And I'm going with the rook, man. I think this is going to be a coming out party, even more than what we've seen out of Justin Herbert, because this is a big test. He's going against one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history, but if you look what he's done this season, he's made great throws. His arm is incredible. He's made great decisions. He's handled the blitz like a vet already, and now that his era officially starts being named the starter, this is a statement game for him in New Orleans. So I'm going with the upset. I'm going with the Chargers.
Woo! That's a pretty bold upset. I don't have the upset in part because Brian Balaga's not playing. I have 31-23 in favor of the Saints. I think Cam Jordan's going to have a much easier time getting to Justin Herbert because Brian Balaga is a great tackle, and that's going to be a problem without him playing. That's an interesting one for me, especially, by the way, for fantasy purposes. I think Michael Thomas is coming back. Every report we've seen says that he is, but temper your expectations. I don't necessarily think it'll be a full, Michael Thomas catching 10 passes for 700 yards and 700 touchdowns in this one. So just be mindful for your fantasy purposes. Michael Thomas, probably not 100% yet.
Well, continuing the theme, I got the same differential here with Cynthia. 8 points for the Saints, 28-20. I would love to see Herbert ball out in this primetime game. I really hope he does. But the Saints are just so solid, and they're much healthier. They're getting healthier on defense. Their offensive line looked great last week. They're healthier, too. So I think they just too much firepower for Herbert. Speaking of firepower, let's see who's getting to the game. My Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball 79 yards. I just made up that. I don't know if it's 79, but that looked fun.
It was 79. I saw it. I'm with you.
I would just watch him, warm up all day. That would be.
Oh, I'm hearing Henry Ruggs is active in this one for your fantasy purposes, which still makes Hunter Renfrow a good pick, but maybe not quite as good of a pick.
Speed demon.
All right. Are you guys ready to play? It's our favorite time of the day.
Let's do it.
Do you have your phone? Where are your phone fingers? I need them. Ready? Yeah. What?
I got him.
Okay, good. Phew. All right. In this game, staying in this game, more or less than 55 points. Raiders at Chiefs, 55 points. Remember, this is a game that is usually the Chiefs average almost 36 points themselves, so more or less.
There you go. And that makes it easy. I'm going more for the Chiefs alone. They go more than 55.
No, that's not going to happen, in my opinion. Okay, look, I have 54 points happening because, look, in all four of the Chiefs matchups, 54 points or less. So I have 55 projected, but this is why you need to watch this show because 34, 21, those are round numbers. You have to look at the fractional numbers that make up those round numbers. It is less. And remember, 3 of Gruden's 8 lowest scoring games ever have come against the Chiefs. So I say less than that. Okay, you ready for the next one?
Love it.
Jaguars at Texans. More or less than 55 points. 55 points.
I'm going
Greg
more.
likes fun. I'm
going
the
more.
opposite of fun. Hawk, where are you?
I'm more. I think the Texans are rejuvenated. I think Minshew and Deshaun go off. Go up.
It's 2020. There's no
All right.
defenses. No defenses.
No defense, but I think in this one, I think we see some Watt. And remember, Josh Allen isn't playing, so that's going to be great for Deshaun Watson. And not Josh Allen, the Buffalo quarterback, as in the defensive end for the Jaguars, in case you were not keeping up at home. All right, next up, Eagles at Steelers, the battle for Pennsylvania. More or less than 44 total points with these defensive fronts that are both gnarly. I'm doing the okey doke, as my friend Greg would say. What do you have, guy? Oh, Hawk, you're against us.
Yeah, you blew it, Hawk.
You blew it, Hawk.
Oh,
okay.
man.
So Deontay Johnson in this one could be a nice little sleeper if he's playing. It seems like he will be. That's an interesting one. I want to point out here, James Conner, more than 71 rushing yards in this game. I think that is a nice reason why this is going to be higher. I think the Pittsburgh defense could score a touchdown. Did you take that one with a little pen and paper note? Defense score. Okay. Last one. You ready? Colts
Please.
at Browns, more or less than 48 points.
Yeah. Hawk's confusing me because he's going up with the red. It's always confusing. It is up. I don't know. I'm colorblind. This whole segment's kind of anti-colorblind. But either way, I like more.
Are we all Moors? Oh, finally. Okay, look. Earlier this week, that number was higher. Now it's only 48. So I have 25, 23. That is 48 points. That's why you got to watch this game. Why? Because those fractional points is above that. It's like 48.3, right? So the rounding all works out to be 48 points. Why? Because in this one, Baker Mayfield is going to connect with Odell Beckham Jr. again, like we saw, and both teams are really efficient at rushing. It will come down to who turns the ball over less, and in my projection, that is the Browns.
I
Yes,
love it.
no, maybe
Baker
so.
Mayfield
No one
holding
agrees.
to the ball. Doesn't want to turn it over. All right, that does it for us today. Enjoy today's slate of games. We will see you back here on Friday on Game Debut. Peace.